Senator from Vermont.
President, I ask consent to call a quorum be dispensed with.
Without objection. Under the previous order, the nomination of Amy Totenberg to be the United States District Judge for the Northern District of Georgia is confirmed. The question is on the nomination of Steve C. Jones to be the United States District Judge for the Northern District of Georgia.
And Mr. President, I understand there has been a request for a roll call on Judge Jones, although I would recommend if we have such that it be unanimous. And I see the distinguished Senator, Georgia Senator Isakson on the floor, and I would ask for the yeas and nays.
Is there a sufficient second? There appears to be. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka, Mr. Alexander, Ms. Ayat, Mr. Barrasso, Mr. Baucus, Mr. Begich, Mr. Bennett, Mr. Bingaman, Mr. Blumenthal.
Aye.
Mr. Blunt, Mr. Bozeman, Ms. Boxer, Mr. Brown of Massachusetts, Mr. Brown of Ohio, Mr. Burr, Ms. Cantwell, Mr. Cardin, Mr. Carper, Mr. Casey, Mr. Chambliss, Mr. Coates, Mr. Coburn, Mr. Cochran, Ms. Collins, Mr. Conrad, Mr. Coons, Mr. Corker, Mr. Cornyn, Mr. Crapo, Mr. DeMint, Mr. Durbin, Mr. Ensign, Mr. Enzi, Mrs. Feinstein, Mr. Franken, Mrs. Gillibrand, Mr. Graham, Mr. Grassley, Mrs. Hagan, Mr. Harkin, Mr. Hatch, Mr. Hoven, Mrs. Hutchison, Mr. Inhofe, Mr. Inouye, Mr. Isakson, Mr. Johans, Mr. Johnson of Wisconsin, Mr. Johnson of South Dakota, Mr. Kerry, Mr. Kirk, Ms. Klobuchar, Mr. Cole, Mr. Kyle, Ms. Landrieu, Mr. Lautenberg, Mr. Leahy, Mr. Lee, Mr. Levin, Mr. Lieberman, Mr. Lugar, Mr. Manchin, Mr. McCain, Mrs. McCaskill, Mr. McConnell, Mr. Menendez, Mr. Merkley, Ms. Mikulski, Mr. Moran, Ms. Murkowski, Mrs. Murray, Mr. Nelson of Nebraska, Mr. Nelson of Florida, Mr. Paul, Mr. Portman, Mr. Pryor, Mr. Reed of Rhode Island, Mr. Reed of Nevada, Mr. Risch, Mr. Roberts, Mr. Rockefeller, Mr. Rubio, Mr. Sanders, Mr. Schumer, Mr. Sessions, Mrs. Shaheen, Mr. Shelby, Ms. Snow, Ms. Stabenow, Mr. Tester? Mr. Thune? Mr. Toomey? Mr. Udall, Colorado? Mr. Udall, New Mexico? Mr. Vitter? Mr. Warner? Mr. Webb? Mr. Whitehouse? Mr. Wicker? Mr. Wyden? Senators voting in the affirmative: Bingaman, Blumenthal, Conrad, Crapo, DeMint, Grassley, Isaacson, Johans, Cole, Kyle, Leahy, Manchin, Udall, New Mexico, and Vitter. No senators voting in the negative. Mr. Brown? Yes. Mr. Brown, Massachusetts? Aye. Mr. Ensign? Mr. Ensign? Aye. Mr. Webb? Aye. Mr. Cardin? Mr. Cardin? Aye.
I intend defense slasher when I say
Mr. Levin? Mr. Levin? Aye. Mr. Nelson, Nebraska. Mr. Nelson, Nebraska. Aye. Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee, Utah. Aye. Mr. Inouye. Aye. Mr. Hoven. Mr. Hoven. Aye. Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson of Wisconsin. Aye. Mr. Menendez. Mr. Menendez. Aye. Mr. Sanders. Mr. Sanders. Aye. Mr. Casey. Mr. Casey. Aye. Mr. Harkin. Mr. Harkin. Aye. Mr. Oh, shoot. Mr. Shelby. Mr. Shelby. Aye. Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson, South Dakota. Aye. Mr. Coates. Mr. Coates. Aye. Mr. Wyden. Mr. Wyden. Aye. Mr. Bacchus. Mr. Bacchus. Aye.
I didn't look at it.
Mr. Cochran. Mr. Cochran. Aye. Mrs. Shaheen. Ms. Shaheen. Aye. Mr. Roberts. Mr. Roberts. Aye. Mr. Lugar. Mr. Lugar. Aye. Mr. Moran. Mr. Moran. Aye. Ms. Klobuchar. Ms. Klobuchar. Aye. Mr. Reed. Mr. Reed of Rhode Island. Aye. Ms. Mikulski. Ms. Mikulski. Aye. Mr. Sessions. Mr. Sessions. Aye. Ms. Collins. Ms. Collins. Aye. Ms. Hagan. Ms. Hagan. Aye. Mr. Warner. Mr. Warner. Aye. Mr. Pryor. Mr. Pryor. Aye. Mr. Tester. Mr. Tester. Aye. Mr. Nelson of Florida. Mr. Nelson of Florida. Aye. Ms. Feinstein. Mrs. Feinstein. Aye. Mr. Carper. Mr. Carper. Aye. Mr. Burr. Mr. Burr. Aye. Mr. Wicker. Mr. Wicker. Aye. Mr. Risch. Mr. Risch. Aye. Ms. Stabenow. Ms. Stabenow. Aye. Mr. Franklin. Mr. Franklin. Aye. Coburn. Mr. Coburn. Aye. Ms. Cantwell. Ms. Cantwell. Aye. Ms. Snow. Ms. Snow. Aye. Mr. Rubio. Mr. Rubio. Aye. Mr. Merkley. Mr. Merkley. Aye. Mr. Begich. Mr. Begich. Aye. Mr. Brown of Ohio. Mr. Brown of Ohio. Aye. Mr. Hatch. Mr. Hatch. Aye. Mr. Blunt. Mr. Blunt. Aye. Mr. Chambliss. Mr. Chambliss. Aye. Mrs. Boxer. Aye. Mr. Coons. Mr. Coons. Aye. Mr. Alexander. Mr. Alexander, aye. Mr. Graham. Mr. Graham, aye. Mr. Reed. Mr. Reed of Nevada, aye. Mr. Cornyn. Mr. Cornyn, aye. Mr. Lauenberg. Mr. Lauenberg, aye. Mr. Bennett. Mr. Bennett, aye. Mr. Whitehouse. Mr. Whitehouse, aye. Ms. Murray. Ms. Murray, aye. Mr. Schumer. Mr. Schumer. Mr. Schumer, aye. Mr. Barrasso. Mr. Barrasso, aye. Mrs. Hutchison. Ms. Hutchison, aye. Ms. Murkowski. Ms. Murkowski, aye. Mr. McConnell. Mr. McConnell, aye. Mr. Portman. Mr. Portman, aye. Mr. Durbin. Mr. Durbin, aye. Mr. Enzi. Mr. Enzi, aye. Mr. Udall. Mr. Udall of Colorado, aye. Mr. Corker. Mr. Corker, aye. Mr. Thune. Mr. Thune, aye. Mr. Kerry. Mr. Kerry, aye. Ms. McCaskill. Ms. McCaskill. Aye. Ms. Landrieu. Ms. Landrieu. Aye. Mr. Kirk. Mr. Kirk. Aye.
on this vote? It says in the nomination.
Anyone wish to vote?
Are there any members wishing to vote or change their vote? If not, the ayes are 90, nays are 0, and the nomination is confirmed.
Mr. President, I move to reconsider.
Motions to reconsider are laid on the table. The President will be immediately notified of the Senate's action, and the Senate will resume legislative session.
Mr. President,
Senator from Vermont.
Mr. President, I understand the senator from Colorado has an amendment which can be disposed of quickly that is agreeable to both sides, and I would yield to the senator from Colorado.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President.
Senator from Colorado.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to thank Chairman Leahy, Ranking Member Grassley, Senator Hatch, and all the members of the Judiciary Committee for all their hard work on patent reform. Moving this bill forward has been a difficult task. I look forward to supporting the bill as we're in the process of amending and improving it. This legislation is critical for our economic growth. If we're going to rebuild our economy and win the future, we need to make sure that our patent system promotes research and development.
Senator will be in order.
Thank you, Mr. President. Investment, job creation, and global competitiveness. This evening, I'd like to call up 2 amendments to this legislation that I believe address the need for efficiency and quality at the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Mr. President, this time I'd like to call up the first amendment that is at the desk.
And without objection, a pending amendment is set aside. The clerk will report the amendment.
Senator from Colorado, Mr. Bennett, proposes an amendment numbered 116. On page 86, between lines 8 and 9, insert the following.
Mr. President, I'd like to ask that the reading be dispensed with.
Without objection.
My first amendment, co-sponsored by Senator Ayotte, helps small businesses utilize the Patent Office's Track 1 program by reducing their fees for participating in it. Track 1 allows applicants to get their patents processed more quickly, but the cost can be burdensome for small entities. The amendment would reduce small business costs by 50%. This Track 1 program will give applicants the opportunity for prioritized examination of a patent within 12 months of its filing date. On average, the pendency period for first action was 25.7 months in 2010 and 35.3 months for final disposition. By moving this process along for small businesses, we will stimulate business activity and create jobs. The 50% discount is in line with other small entity filing fee discounts offered by the Patent and Trademark Office and will ensure startups and smaller inventors will be at a more level playing field in order to take advantage of Track 1. I'd encourage my colleagues to support my small business amendment at the appropriate time. Mr. President, I'd yield to the chairman.
Mr.
President Senator from Vermont.
Mr. President, I appreciate the senator from Colorado's amendment, and I think when it comes to a vote, it'll probably be unanimous. I suspect it won't not even be a requirement for a roll call, but it does have this mandatory reduction in fees for small businesses for their exams at the Patent Office, and I know the senator's been a strong advocate for small businesses in Colorado. The Patent Office currently has a backlog of more than 700,000 applications. They haven't had a first response. This hits small businesses and independent vendors particularly hard because they can least afford the delay in receiving their rights. Now, Director Kappos and the USTPO have done a lot to reduce that backlog, but obviously they need this legislation to make it possible to finish it. One thing they do have is a fast-track process to allow applicants to pay an additional fee to cover the cost of having examiners work overtime. Now, not all small businesses can afford the fast-track application fee, and Senator from Colorado, Mr. Bennett, has wisely recognized that not all can afford that in his amendment will ensure small businesses and independent vendors receive a 50% reduction in the fee, and when the time comes that it comes for a vote, I will strongly support it, and I suspect both sides in this bill will strongly support it. But I thank the senator from Colorado.
Mr. President,
Senator from Colorado.
I thank the senator from Vermont for his leadership and for his kind words about the amendment. Mr. President, at this time I'd like to ask for unanimous consent to set aside the pending amendment and call up my second amendment, which is also currently at the desk.
Without objection. Clerk will report the amendment.
Senator from Colorado, Mr. Bennett, proposes an amendment numbered 117. On
Mr.
page
President,
4.
I'd ask that the reading of the amendment be dispensed with.
Without objection.
Mr. President, my second amendment provides for the establishment of 3 regional satellite PTO offices in the next 3 years. The Patent and Trademark Office has struggled to hire and retain over 6,000 examiners at its single location in Alexandria, Virginia. This has resulted in 1/3 of patent examiners having been with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office for less than 3 years. Ideally, the Patent and Trademark Office would recruit examiners from all across the country, leveraging regional expertise. Patent and Trademark Office recently recognized this weakness in our patent infrastructure by announcing an initial satellite pilot in Detroit, Michigan. My amendment seeks to support this effort and further connect innovators to the United States Patent and Trademark Office. The establishment of satellite offices will help the USPTO recruit and retain workers from all across the country. Regional offices will draw local scientists, engineers, and patent attorneys into the Patent and Trademark Office to add real-world expertise to the patent review process. Regional satellite offices will also increase outreach activities and connection to patent filers, enhance the ability of the USPTO to recruit and retain patent examiners, and improve the quality and pendency for patent applications. Europe currently uses 4 patent offices as a recruitment tool and is known for the ability to attract and retain highly qualified examiners. In short, Mr. President, the limitations of our lone patent office are placing our economy at a competitive disadvantage. It is essential, therefore, that we establish satellite offices in locations that will connect innovators and businesses across the country. I would ask senators to support my amendment at the appropriate time. I want to again thank the chairman for his leadership, and I look forward to working with him and the rest of this body to craft a good piece of legislation that helps America take the lead in the world's increasingly competitive innovation economy. I yield the floor.
Thank you. And Mr. President,
Senator from Vermont.
I know the senator's advocated for a satellite office. His amendment, of course, speaks for geographic diversity. We could, otherwise, every one of us would be asking for one in our state, in Vermont, which receives more patents per capita than any other state in the union would be asking, and so on. But what he does is not try to tilt the balance in favor of any particular state, but does call for geographic diversity, and I think that's very wise. And when the amendment comes to a vote, I will be there to support it. So now, Mr. President, parliamentary inquiry, what is pending?
The Bennett Amendment number 117.
And was that set aside so he could introduce his second amendment?
That is the second, sir.
That is the second. So that is what is pending now.
That's correct.
I thank the chair.
Senator from Utah.
I ask unanimous consent that the pending amendments be set aside, and I call up amendment number 115 and ask for its immediate consideration.
Is there objection?
Mr. President, withholding the... Is it my understanding that
Senator from Vermont.
once the senator has introduced that and spoken about it, he'll be willing to set that aside as other amendments directly to the patent bill come up? Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
I accept the senator's word on that, and I'll have no objection.
Without objection, the clerk will report.
The senator from Utah, Mr. Lee, proposes amendment numbered 115. At the appropriate place, insert the following. Section, sense of the Senate. It is the sense of the Senate, of the Congress, should pass and the state should agree to an amendment to the Constitution requiring a federal balanced budget.
Mr. President,
Senator from Utah.
this is a self-explanatory amendment. I want to state at the outset that I am a supporter of this legislation, the patent reform bill. And I also want to point out that this amendment does not bring about any substantive change to that legislation, nor does it lock anyone into any particular variation of a balanced budget amendment proposal. I am happy to work out an agreement as to the timing for a possible vote on this and hope that we can get to a vote on that sometime soon. I yield the floor.
Mr. President.
Senator from Idaho.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to speak as if in morning business for up to 15 minutes, the time to be shared between myself and Senator Risch.
Without objection.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, Senator Risch and I are here today, and in fact I would note that we are joined by also our former colleague, Senator Larry Craig, who is here with us as well, to honor one of Idaho's greatest statesmen, who passed away on Saturday. We rise to honor the distinguished life of Senator James A. McClure, a mentor and a dear friend of mine. And as I indicated, Senator Craig is here. Senator Craig is the one who followed Senator McClure in that seat in the United States Senate, and we appreciate him making the effort to get here to also share his concerns and his condolences and, frankly, to help honor Senator McClure. I joined Senator McClure's wife, Louise, and their family and friends, and frankly, all of Idaho, in mourning the passing of Senator McClure and in honoring his great legacy. His sound guidance, strong advocacy for Idaho, and his personal encouragement will be missed by all of us, but definitely not forgotten. Throughout his decades of public service, Jim McClure set a standard for public servants that will endure for generations. Senator McClure dedicated much of his life to honorable service to our nation. At the age of 18, he joined the United States Navy and served honorably in World War II. He then returned to Idaho and attended law school at the University of Idaho, worked as a prosecuting attorney for Payette County, and served in the Idaho State Senate. With 6 years in the U.S. House of Representatives and 18 years in the U.S. Senate, his exemplary service in the United States Congress passed and spanned 24 years. His unfailing goodwill, respect for others, and his essential Western conservatism helped him to maintain throughout his life the kind of service that are still the best model for how to engage in today's public policy debates. He was recognized by all as a gentleman, but a powerful advocate. Senator McClure's legacy as a congressman and senator is broad, and in many issues such as energy and natural resource management, his service to Idaho is historic. Jim utilized his service as chairman of the Senate Committee on Energy and Natural Resources to advocate for Idaho issues and their ideals. He also helped to guide the Senate through his chairmanship of the Senate Republican Conference from 1981 to 1985. Jim worked diligently to achieve solutions to Idaho and national challenges. He also had a forward-thinking focus on fiscal discipline, one that we could well use in the United States Senate today, and on energy independence, another critical issue which we continue to battle for today. These are critical issues that he helped set the foundation for, and frankly, which his wisdom would have helped to solve. Jim was a friend and a role model for me, and I'm sure for many others in Idaho and throughout the nation. His dedication, kind treatment of others, and skillful, proactive, and principled approach are long going to endure. He will be sorely missed, but his lifetime of accomplishments will be with the people of Idaho forever. I offer my sympathy and my love to Louise and to the entire McClure family and to Jim's many friends and associates. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I would yield the time to Senator Risch.
Thank you, Senator Crapo. Mr. President,
Senator from Idaho.
fellow senators, we came to the floor today to